Hello. So yesterday I uploaded a video where I showed how I strongly typed this code, and like a couple of things sort of hit me in the middle of the video. And one thing that hit me was um, how I was so surprised every time I would say new three perspective camera, and I would get a perspective camera back, new three box geometry, and I'd get box geometry back. And what was funny was that this was like my fourth take of this video. And it was like literally in the middle of that video where it dawned on me, what in the world else would you get back? You said, I want a new three perspective camera. Of course, you're going to get a new perspective camera back. So, I was sort of contemplating this through the night, and I was like, how did I ever even get the idea that I would get a different object back? And I realized because I have gone through this process professionally before and gotten a different object back in this scenario of what I showed you. And then I was like, well, how is that even possible? And these are like really important moments as a developer. This is where you can realize that you have a fundamental gap in your understanding of your craft. And in this specific situation, what was happening was, or in this specific situations where I got something back, what was happening was the typings were wrong. And before yesterday, I was under the impression that this typing was that Visual Studio Code and Angular Transpiler were using real time analysis of the actual code to come up with this stuff. But it's not. It dawned on me it's not. It's actually using the typings. So you might remember that early in the process, if you watch the original video where it created this application, early in the process, we install a typings file. So if I right click on this right here and I go to this definition, um, you'll see if I mouse over this that this is from at types 3 cameras perspective .d.tds, not from the actual code. So if this is wrong, I'll get something wrong. And the reason I can remember it so clearly is because whenever it is wrong, if you're working in a professional environment and you have to strongly type something, if that is wrong, you that's a nightmare scenario for you because it's very difficult to get it to compile because the type is wrong. So, so to walk through this thing, what we can do is I'll go to npm, and this is where this whole thing comes from, right? So we did the npm install -s save types 3, and this is all held at this GitHub repository. So if you click into this GitHub repository, what you'll see is that there's a whole GitHub repo completely dedicated to types in 3. And what really shocked me and was really like opening like the door of something that I hadn't even conceived of before is like this bad boy has 188 outstanding pull requests. That's not a criticism. I'm not criticizing anybody. Please, if you're watching this and you're at all involved in this type thing, thank you. Thank you so much because life is so much easier because you guys did all this hard work. So please don't accept any of this as a criticism. It's just an observation, and I'm sure it's not just 3. I'm sure all types of large, impressive libraries do this. So, like I said, thank you for this, for doing this. But if you click into this pull requests, um, you'll see that the pull requests are like adding missing properties, add proxy node strategy option, fix type used by XR hand, in the constructor, made the file name, in the constructor optional. So these are made by human beings. And this stuff here, it comes because somebody hand coded something, or even if it was somehow generated, it could have been generated when it wasn't the right, or like for a previous version or something. So these aren't 100% guaranteed to be correct. And if they are wrong, then you have to have a strategy. If wherever you work requires you to strongly type these things, you have to have a strategy to work around that. Maybe make your own type, copy it, fix that type, and make your own local type, and put a lot of comments in there saying this is mistyped and blah 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 blah. Let's check this out in the future when new types come out or something like that. But that was just a huge gap in my knowledge. And like my first instinct, based on, I don't know, childhood school things, was to be embarrassed by the whole thing. But that was the wrong instinct. I should, and I've been working on this, be happy that I found this and that I've grown as a developer, and not be embarrassed. Because honestly, too many people think that us developers just know everything, and we don't. And if there's one thing that you should have learned by watching me work through this, is you can write a lot of impressive code and not really understand much. And the opposite is true. There are people that understand these things inside and out and can't write the code. um, you have to constantly work when you write a lot of code to try to force yourself to understand, if that's the kind of person you are. Like, you're like a guy who just likes to hack away and write code. You've got to circle back and study this stuff so that you can understand it. Um, and vice versa. If you're someone who just likes to read about these things and study it, you've got to actually get your hands dirty and write code, or you won't be able to write code. Both people are valuable. Like people that are experts and they just totally understand what all the code's doing are extremely valuable in professional environments. But it is frustrating for them, because it's a frustrating way to live life, because you know all about it. It's kind of like a quarterback coach, or something like that, where you wish you were a quarterback, but you just read about quarterbacking. Or if you only code, it's kind of like a basketball player who can hit any shot, but they don't really understand what they're doing, and then they kind of hit a brick wall and they can't get any better. Um, you got to kind of feed both sides of your brain, the understanding part of the brain and the actual doing part of your brain. And that, I think the doing part is kind of getting lost in our world. Where more and more people are becoming very, very good at understanding stuff and not doing things. And that's tough. It's a tough situation to be in, because you get assignments, and for some reason this other guy who doesn't understand a darn thing is getting stuff done. It's just as bad, though, being the person that knows how to do things but doesn't understand them, because then everyone thinks you're faking it. They're all like, I don't know, he went off to lunch and then when he came back it was magically done, and he can't explain why it's done. And they all think that you're hiring somebody from Russia or something to write your code for you. Both sides are kind of a miserable existence. So it's for your quality of life, it makes a lot of sense, A, to admit that you probably have gaps in your knowledge, B, to try to fill in that knowledge, and then C, to make sure that you practice these things, so that you are comfortable actually doing them. But anyways, I'll get off my high horse. Yesterday, I definitely grew a lot as a developer. I think making these videos is very, very good for me. I hope they're good for someone else too, but if nothing else, they're good for me. Anyways, have a happy coding. See y'all later. Bye.